up a good balance, let's say, between a spiritual life and a physical life here in our 3D. Because loads of people, they go so much, or they are too spiritual, or you just go out, you drink, get done. How is it good to keep up the balance?
Because I look at things sometimes a little differently than I imagine most other people do, or what I've learned other people do by being exposed to other teachings and conversations in that. So I think a lot of times people will say, like, there are spiritual things in life, like meditation or certain types of friends or certain types of conversations. And then there are material things in life, like your job or your possessions, your car, your body, your health, things like that. For me, I think what we need to find a balance with is inner and outer, or self and other. So for me, everything is spiritual. Everything's made of God's energy. But we can focus on two different things. One is like working on myself, like meditation, and watching my thoughts, isolating myself with a yoga retreat or a meditation retreat, or focusing on my body and my diet and my fitness. Those are all self-focused. And then focusing in the world includes my quality of relationships, my quality of work, my personal possessions, my physical material possessions. Because for me, it's all made of God's energy. So where we draw the line between spiritual and material, I don't see anymore. For me, my vibration determines what happens in the physical reality. So the physical reality is created from my spiritual energy. So I can't separate the two anymore. What I can separate is, am I focused on creating externally or internally? Because my consciousness kind of sits in the middle. There's an inner world and an outer world. And usually what people call material is just the outer world. You have to have a job. You have to create some sort of service in the world. Whether you get paid for it or not is a different story. But for me, your job is your service to the world. It's like your dharma. It's like what you do in the world is service. And so some people's dharma is to be a street cleaner and pick up garbage. Some would call that's a job, but no, it's your service to mankind. That's how you present yourself to others. So for me, it's more about inner and outer, and I think we have to find balance in that. Each day, how much time and energy we spend focusing on ourselves, such as meditation, health practices, quiet, things that we do to build our own self greater in terms of our desired direction. And then also hours of the day spent building what we want in our external world. So improving our relationships, having fun with our friends and family, building a career, improving how you serve mankind, how you serve society, which would be your career. So I see it more of an inner outer balance, because for me, those are things I can realistically place. Because like I said, I see everything as God's energy. Everything is spiritual energy. It just vibrates slower, and we call it matter. It vibrates faster, and we call it, spiritual light or astral vibration or emotion. It's the same God energy. It's not divisible. Where for me, usually like service to self, service to others is more divisible in a way. So I would balance that. I'd balance how I'm living in that way and stop thinking that the material world is bad and wrong. Yeah. There's a reason why many of the most significant, powerful spiritual cultures are also suffering the most with poverty. And it's because a lot of times in these cultural teachings, they divided spirit from matter. And they said, let's leave the world, the material body, and everything is suffering. So like India, you have these amazing teachings in India, and you also have one of the greatest countries of poverty and physical suffering. And I think that this separation between spirit and matter is incorrect. There is no separation between spirit and matter. Everything is God. Build the best relationship with everything. And if you want to divide it, it's indivisible, basically. But if you want to divide it, self and other, I think is a little more accurate way of talking about it.
Oh, that's good. But you see, again, we always want to put it good or bad.
Yes.
That's what we do as human, part of this 3D. We always put tickets on there.
Yeah, and you can't avoid it, but you can understand it in a way that doesn't cause suffering. So I say there's desirable and undesirable, but exactly. I don't suffer when I have undesirable things.
Exactly. Because you just understand and this is what it is.
Yeah, and you love creating it. You create the change and you love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now we still go and have a little talk about the DNA and then a little bit about the pineal glands. Is that okay, Winkle? Yeah, and then we finish because it's already quite a long time that we're talking here. But before we start with this, the people who have out of body experiences, for them it's easier to see, to feel, and understand that we are living in an illusion.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to, or automatically, you create your understanding of life based upon the experiences you've had. And I know for myself, once I had my first fully conscious out of body experience, because before that I would wake up in other realities, like when I was sleeping at night, but it was different the first time I had it consciously from start to finish in a meditation. So the first time I had an out of body experience, it was significant and it changed everything. It was one of the most powerful experiences. And up until that point, I knew the information and I believed the information about a lot of these things that you hear in spirituality. But when you actually experience it, it changes everything. It makes it in your body. It's like it becomes cellular and it goes deep into your consciousness and changes how you live in your life, how you interpret things. So real experience is so important and so valuable. And that's why in a lot of my teachings and also in the inner circle, we focus on applying the information to create the experiences through practices and also suggestions for how to apply it in your daily life. I think one of the things I've noticed over all these years of being a spiritual teacher and observing my students is that those who practice more, those who apply the teachings more in a practical way, they're the ones that experience growth. The students that I have who struggle the most, they have difficulty motivating themselves or remembering to meditate and do practices.
On a regular basis.
On a regular basis, yeah. So they might do it 3 days in a row and then not do it for 3 weeks in a row. Yeah. So people who struggle with being able to decide how they're using their energy, they're the ones who put less energy in that new direction, down that timeline of desire, so they experience their goals less often or with more difficulty and slowness. Yeah. So this is why I think it's so important that we really wake up as creators in our lives, learn how to direct our energy, learn how to focus our mind and our emotions and make decisions consciously, because we're the creators. So the more we live from that place of conscious creation, the better we're going to be. And we're going to be challenged to try to step into those places of consciousness because we're all conditioned to have doubt and fear, to not trust ourselves, to have difficulty, controlling our body and mind because it's filled with so many distractions like social media and entertainment. We really need to focus on our goals and make a diligent effort to try to, reach our long-term goals and not just give into our short-term satisfactions.
Short-term satisfactions. That's nice. That's nice. Yeah, but that is just with all these entertainments that we have today. It's like very challenging.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
They just always focused on what you say.
Yeah, I've made a point many times in my life to put like structure into my life. So I would eat a certain way. And that meant, you don't go to certain restaurants because those food choices, they're not as healthy as you want your body to be eating. And I knew I had to go to bed at a certain time so I could wake up at a certain time because I wanted to meditate in the morning or do a spiritual practice before sunrise. So for me, I knew I had to structure my life in a way in order to reach my personal goals. And because I practiced doing this in many areas of my life, it became easy for me to create these structures and do these changes. But some people have very unstructured lives and they just keep going with whatever is, and they don't control their mind. Like they don't learn how to meditate and focus. So their mind is not structured. Their mind goes all over the place. And we don't experience progress when we have that. Now, to tie this back into what you were saying, Ilse, like with out-of-body experiences, it definitely wakes you up to realize you're this higher consciousness. But you can have those same states of realization before you have an out-of-body experience. You can find your consciousness right now and be as your consciousness right now. It may not be as full as if you have an out-of-body experience, but you can still find it and be it because your consciousness is a permanent thing that's always in the present moment. So I think that we shouldn't hope, when I have an out-of-body experience, then I'll have the awakening. It's like, no, don't let the external influence you. Instead, try to find that awakened state now. And if you have an out-of-body experience, it'll help you establish more of an awakening. But if you don't have it, it's not stopping you. It's not preventing you in any way.
If your desire is so big, you will arrive.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yep. Yeah, the stronger your desire, the more it influences how you think, feel, act in your life. So just keep focusing on what you really want. Logically understand these are lesser desires and I don't need them. Realize that there's short-term desires and long-term desires. Go after the long-term ones because they are more valuable. Build the life that you want to have. Create the state of presence or the state of mind that you want to have. It's going to take you longer, but you're going to be so much more rewarded when you get there.
Yeah, and some people, it's the nature from the people also. They are people, they're very structured, and it doesn't cost them anything to be very structured because this is the part of their nature. But then the other people, they're very chaotic. And they can, in that chaotic mind and being, they get there also to be very, it really depends who you are, if you're procrastinating and all these things. Yeah, exactly. What you're creating.
Just start where you're at. Try to improve the good things that you're already noticing and try to remove the negative things or the bad things, undesirable things that you're already noticing. Just work with what's right in front of you.
And just calm this mental part, because this is really, this is the most important, is the mental part.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Yep.
It's the mental part. Okay, DNA. DNA is our blueprint. Can you tell us a little bit about the DNA? How is it?
Yeah. So I do see 2 strands of physical DNA and then multiple strands of non-physical DNA. And for me, the physical vibration is growing. So the world itself is raising in vibration and we're becoming more multidimensional. And as our consciousness expands into more multidimensional awareness, we're naturally going to integrate the non-physical strands of DNA. So I see that we have all the strands of DNA already there, but not all of them are activated. It's like when I see them in my mind's eye, they're very faint in light. So it's almost transparent, like see-through. It's very light, but when they're activated, now they're glowing, they're denser with light. So the more awakened a person is non-physically, the more they're then using these non-physical pieces of DNA. They're all there, but they're not being used, they're not being activated. So you don't have to create them, you just have to turn them on, you could say, put more energy into them. For me, the DNA holds a blueprint, it holds a design, it doesn't control us. So when we look at physical scientists, we often think, well, the DNA makes you who you are. And then in spirituality, we then automatically assume, and I believe it's incorrect, we automatically assume that my spiritual DNA makes me who I am. No, the DNA holds the properties of your characteristics. You're a free will consciousness. You have no form. You have no spiritual DNA. Your spirit has no form, therefore it can have no DNA. But your multidimensional bodies have these DNA structures. And that's the blueprint, that's the design, that's the list of properties in those structures. So your physical DNA has these characteristics, and that's, if you change them, you change the human body, the color of your eyes, the height, all these different things. Well, we have non-physical DNA that has properties about our understanding or our emotional vibration, how we process life. But those are also all the forms we're creating with as these states of consciousness. So as you awaken more perception non-physically or healthy emotional states or more wisdom, the structure of your DNA actually changes. My understanding, my belief is that if you change a characteristic of something, it changes in the DNA instantly. So physically, if I knew how to change the color of my eyes, for example, with the power of my mind, as soon as I changed my eyes and made them blue, for example, my DNA would now change instantly and have the code for blue eyes. Okay, so people often think change the DNA, then the physical body changes, but they're exactly the same. It's a blueprint of the body. So you change the DNA, you change the body, and the change in the DNA follows instantly because it's a coding. So that's how I see it. And then non-physically, when we change our DNA in a genuine way, then non-physical DNA, then we change our mental and emotional characteristics. There are more dimensions to us non-physically. So our mind and our emotions exist in multiple dimensions. And as we integrate more of what our mind and emotions are capable of, then we awaken more of those strands of energetic DNA. Some people try to do like imagination practices, imagine them, visualize them to turn them on. I don't know how effective they are. I've never really watched them. I've never felt drawn to practice any of them. For me, there's a lot of imagination things people do that I've never felt attracted to. I realize that your imagination is a part of your mind that changes things. So it does have some effect, but I've just never been drawn to that. For me, I've been more interested in just creating directly with the forms of life ahead of me. And if that's going to change my DNA, then my DNA is going to change. Like for me, I want to create with life, with the forms I'm perceiving, not necessarily something that I can't really perceive and have to imagine its existence of. So that's why I've never really taught about the DNA. It's very impersonal. Your personal experience doesn't really work with it. However, I do know scientists, actual physical, scientists who work with DNA. And for them, it's a very physical thing. They have these pieces of matter, inside these laboratories that they're working with DNA in microscopic levels. But for most of us, DNA is just an imagined thing, basically. We're not really perceiving it.
You perceive it that way.
Yeah.
Now I have a last question about the pineal, about these three chakras that we have in our mind, the pineal, the pituitary, and the one that we say is the soma, no? That you said, no. Okay.
Yeah, it's the soma chakra.
Yeah, the one, the physical ones, really, in our body. Do they grow when they expand?
Well, any organ can change its size, but it's not a very easy process. Like an organ doesn't have to get larger in order to have better function. Exactly. So if we're looking for like a healthier organ, it doesn't have to get larger in size. It just has to function better. It has to move better. It needs, its process has to improve. With the chakras, our emotions and our emotional chakras, they can expand or contract, and that's about their expression. That's like their process as well. So we feel our emotions get stronger, we feel our happiness grow, our peace grow, and the chakra feels bigger. That's the function it does. The emotions express. But your organ's function is like how it digests, how it purifies the blood, how it produces hormones or chemicals. So when I look biologically, the size of something's not important. It's the function that it has. And even if we look at physical fitness and like professional weightlifters, the Olympic athletes who run the fastest or lift the most weights, they don't necessarily have the largest sized muscles or the largest sized bodies. To use your muscles most efficiently is what usually an Olympic athlete desires, because they have weight classes and size classes and that. So it shows us you can look thin but lift up a lot of weight because your muscles function very well. Or you can be very large and overweight, have a lot of muscles even, but you can't lift a lot of weight. Your muscles don't function well. So in bodybuilding, for example, in Olympic athletics, they try to turn on as many muscle fibers. You have these twitching fibers, fast twitch and slow twitch, and so they contract. And the more muscle fibers you can get to contract, the more efficient and effective your muscles are, the stronger they are. Okay, so biologically, it's not about size is better, it's about function is better. Exactly. And that's relative to chemicals. Yeah. But energetically, in the energy body, size is function, because emotions express into the environment. That's what they do. So we'll notice our chakras open or close, which for me is your chakras get larger or smaller. It's not like a door that actually shuts itself. It's a strength that increases or decreases. It's a radiance that increases or decreases. So for me, a shut down chakra is not one that turned off. It's one that lowered the volume or reduced the brightness of the light. So the feeling of the emotion got really, really soft that we could hardly feel that emotion anymore. I always see chakras are always turned on. They can be bright or dim when I look with my mind's eye, with my third eye, or we can feel them getting strong or weak when we sense them with our empathic ability, with our sensory perception. But they never turn off or turn on. They just increase or decrease in strength. Now with the pineal gland again is a physical organ. And the pineal gland is designed to produce certain chemicals. And these chemicals get produced, in my opinion, I don't know if it's scientifically verified, but in my opinion, when you sleep at night or when you have any sort of increased non-physical perceptual state. So when we sleep at night, I believe the pineal gland produces more chemicals. When we are having psychedelic experiences or meditation experiences of non-physical perception, we'll have more chemicals. The chemical is a byproduct of the non-physical process because, again, there is no separation between physical and non-physical forms. They're all interconnected. So if I have a thought, that's a non-physical thing, right? Or an emotion, it's a non-physical thing because the five senses cannot perceive it, right? But the physical body responds. My nerves change, my body temperature changes, my skin conductivity changes. My pupils might dilate or expand. So there are physical changes that happen when the non-physical expression happens as well. I think we see it in the pineal and pituitary glands. I think in the modern day world, people are unaware of the non-physical forms. And so they define everything through physical matter first. And they believe, oh, if I put a chemical in my body, I'll get enlightened. Well, I've learned about some studies that were done, even university studies with DMT, where they injected DMT in medical laboratories and they measured what happened. And just because you put a chemical in your body didn't mean you got enlightened. You might see some things, you might have some dreamlike experiences, but it didn't give you that realization. So you can't just simulate it physically. Some people had significant spiritual experiences and do have them with the chemical support, but usually the person already has other spiritual practices they're doing and other spiritual knowledge they've been doing. So for the chemicals, for me, don't control the experience. They're a reflection of the experience. What's deeper within us in our mind, that's what's controlling the experience. So I kind of see it the other way around than someone who's only physically based would understand.
Okay. Wow. That's it?
Yeah, I'm getting tired. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been 3 hours for us.
we really need to go because otherwise we will never go. It's so lovely to talk with you. Let's just finish this. Okay. Well, that was really wonderful, Lincoln. Thank you so much for all your information, for your time, for your good intentions, everything when you send out. And I wanted to ask you, do you have a special message to an end message for the people?
Yeah, I think right now the world can be a little challenging for a lot of us. There's lots of social restrictions, there's financial restrictions, there's a lot of things happening that make our lives a little more challenging. When we're in these states of challenge, it can be easy to forget who we are as source creators. The outside world's exerting its influence on us, and we forget to exert our influence on the world. So we stop focusing our mind, maybe doing our spiritual practices. We stop noticing that I'm this creator and I can shape my life more. So during this time, try to do more spiritual practices, try to focus on what makes you feel better. Because if you're always focusing on a restricted physical environment, you're going to not feel as high vibrationally. So expand yourself, focusing on God, focusing on bliss and love. Like Ilse said, gratitude is a wonderful thing to focus on, one of the most powerful things that we can do. So during this time, don't get swept up in the news and the media and all these things that are designed to make you depressed and upset and feel restricted. Instead, use your wisdom, focus on things that uplift you and empower you, because that's going to help shift this world into a better place of happiness.
Exactly. Like you all know that the collective is what really comes true. Just try to always be positive. So we always have to look to positive channels like ours. Do it.
Yeah, use the support that's here for you and do your best. Just love your life. Yeah, love your life.
Exactly. Love your life. That's it. And just feel yourself blessed and lucky and just support yourself. That's so important. Just support yourself. Anyway, Lincoln, thank you so much. That's the end of this interview. And we come back very, very soon. Loads of light for everybody and everybody. I always say twice because in Spanish it's like feminine and masculine. But in English it's everybody. Everybody. So bye bye. See you soon. Thank you, Lincoln. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for watching. Subscribe. And please comment because the comments can help always to other people. So that's really important. And put a like. You put a like. If you really like the video, a like. And if you love the video, subscribe. That's it. Okay. That's it. No? You want to say something?
No,
No?
I'm good. I already finished. Yeah.
Okay. Bye.